Charting disintermediates financial news from reality. My friends, what does that mean? Disintermediation means to take out the intermediaries, the middlemen. Financial news. Many times it has nothing to do with reality. Charting shows you reality. If you try to trade off the financial news, just pay attention to what you see. They'll have one expert one day, many times an hour or two apart, with someone who says the exact opposite. Market's going to go down. Markets are going up. We have a beautiful economy. We have a crappy economy. Things are getting ready to soar. Everything's getting ready to crash. Again, when I talk about financial news, I talk about trying to keep you to stick around to watch the commercials, because many times that seems to me to be what matters most, is having you watch the commercials and be all flustered and excited, trying to learn something when the real reality is here in the stock charts. It's what's actually happening, second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour. Let's jump into these charts. A booming day. Everything is up. Let's look at the S&P 500 booming up 1.82%. Even more, NASDAQ 100 up 2.27%. But you look at the weekly candles and you say, hey, wait a minute. We've got just another spinning top right now. We do. And even with the up move on the 2-day chart, it's sitting right there where? Just below the weekly trend line. We can see where things popped up in the morning, a little further up in the afternoon. Again, is this going to continue? Look at the 2-day. Do we have a lot of volume? We got decent volume. It's average. It's been average for the last day and a half. That is Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning and afternoon. We look at the 2-day, and it's not quite up to half. This is first day of the latest 2-day candle when it comes to volume. It's sitting just below the weekly trend line, so we'll keep an eye on things. We still have a red spinning top. We still have downward pressure. It is an up day. We've seen 2 up days and then a roll back over. That happened back in January 3 and January 6, where things popped up, and then that was Friday, and then that Monday, and then rolled over. Settled out on Monday, popped up Tuesday a little bit, and then this latest climb on Wednesday. So don't know where things are going. Right now, we still have that pale over things and that downward push, but we shall see. Last week, we had a lot of volume, again, seeking price, and things balanced out pretty much between the bulls and the bears. Again, with all that volume this week, again, heading down doesn't mean it's going to stay down, so we'll keep an eye on things. The Qs, somewhat similar. Again, high volume last week with even closer to a doji, so even more indecision than the S&P. And then a down week this week with decent volume already with 2 days to go. You can see we had a good bit of volume in the morning on the NASDAQ, and then that volume bleeding off in the afternoon, staying right there below the weekly trend line. 2-day is below, right there on it, actually. And on the 2-day, below the weekly trend line, not up to halfway in the volume. So we'll keep an eye on things, see if this pop-up is an anomaly. Maybe it's similar to the 2 days. Just like on the S&P, the 3rd and the 6th of January and the roll back over. We'll see if this has any staying power. What about 20-year U.S. government bonds? They popped up too, but again, stayed below the weekly trend line. Lots of volume in the morning and afternoon. About halfway there as far as the 2-day goes, and we can see it also popped up right to the weekly trend line. We'll see if it stays below. You can see a good bit of volume already this week, almost up to where it ended last week in 2 days to go. So we'll keep an eye on things. We saw the low last week was 85.16, this week 84.89. So again, it has gone lower, and the punch up for the day, we'll see if it has any lasting energy. What about gold? Well, gold continuing to move up. We can see we've gone into the 7th through the 7th day of up movement. That would make 4 two-day candles, one more day to finish that. Maybe a little less than halfway there on average volume. We'll see if the volume is going to keep decreasing or if it'll pump up a little. Now, the high back on the 8th of January was 249.04. Last week, 247.04. This week, 248.89. So not reaching a higher high than 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, forgive me. I meant to say this is a two-day candle. So this was last Wednesday and then Friday, because the markets were closed for Jimmy Carter's funeral, and then we had the Monday, Tuesday, and this is the Wednesday. So we've not reached the high of the last Wednesday, Friday. I know that sounds complicated, particularly when markets are closed, but we haven't reached the high from last week yet, and that is going on a week ago. We look at where we are this week, and again, high last week, 249.04, this week, 248.89. So same thing there, is not reaching a higher high. And so again, we'll see if gold is going to continue to catch fire, move higher, continue to build. It tried to do that and then blew all that off on Monday and is trying to build back. So we'll see if it manages to do that or fails. Let's look at Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin up to? It's the biggest gainer for the day, but again, that's not surprising for Bitcoin when it has an up day, 3.27%. This is the second day, and Bitcoin, of course, yesterday popped up to the weekly trend line. Today it pushed through it. Same thing on the 2-day, pushing through after a red down candle last time. And as we look at things, we see that Bitcoin for the week is a red spinning top, still some downward energy there. We're maybe about halfway to the average volume, and you can see that average volume is moving down as far as that black line goes. It's edging down as the volume has slacked off, but for last week, for those 2 prior weeks, well, all the way back, we didn't hit average volume or above. We got to go all the way back to November the 18th. So again, we just haven't had that great a volume. Last week was the first time to actually hit average. Got close back on the week of December the 2nd and didn't do it on December the 16th. So again, as Bitcoin hit its top back on that week beginning the 16th of December and then just sort of been sliding sideways, tending down since then with spinning tops. We'll see if Bitcoin's going to catch fire anytime soon. Many times, as you guys know, if you followed Bitcoin like we have for a while, it'll hit those real strong up moves and then just sort of slide sideways down. Sometimes it'll pull back greatly and just digest all of those gains, with some people selling their gains and other things happening. Who knows the machinations that go on in the world with Bitcoin, and then it charges itself back up again at some point and makes another move. But that's where it is right now. We always love to hear from you. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, cw@chartingwealth.com. Thank you so much for being with us. God bless, my friends. All the best from chartingwealth.com.